You couldn't have told me these people were crooks. You couldn't have convinced me that.
We are one of the areas in the country that has one of the highest levels of mortgage fraud.
I got very bitter. I got very angry because I couldn't believe something like this was happening. The house was sold.
Foreclosure rescue schemes.
We go to the same church. I put trust that she was going to help me to do something that was right.
In these schemes, con men collect fees up front. They strip away any remaining equity, and in most instances, the homeowner ends up losing the house anyway.
Pam Simmons did lose her Pompano Beach home when she tried to refinance. Florida during the real estate boom was a magnet for dishonest mortgage schemes. Candy Young was another victim of fraud.
He attempted to steal my home. I think what he did was very cruel, and it was just the utmost of wrong or fraud.
Brokers who were supposed to help home borrowers used many methods to rip them off.
Fraudulent use of quitclaim deeds, the use of straw purchasers, the use of artificially inflated property appraisals, the submission of false supporting loan documents to banks, and the use of loan proceeds as deposit monies to fund the purchase of properties. And this is just to name a few examples.
If you get a home loan, if you refinance, if you borrow to remodel your kitchen, the state is supposed to protect you from thieves and con artists. But Florida has allowed crooks and felons to flourish in the mortgage industry. In an 8-month investigation, the Miami Herald has found that Florida has given mortgage broker licenses to over 1,000 convicted felons, and that 2,000 more felons, working as loan originators, can write loans without any state license at all. Beyond licensing, the state routinely overlooked or ignored complaints, allowing rogue brokers to flourish amid one of the biggest land booms in state history.
These were fine-looking men, like they wouldn't harm a fly.
Mary Taylor tried to remodel a cold, drafty home for her daughter. She picked the wrong loan broker, who put a huge mortgage on the property.
He assured us that this was not a scam. This was an old historic home with 10-foot ceilings, and it was, in the wintertime you just can't live in there. It's too cold. We saw this brochure to get renovations done on your home. We went for it. The company seemed legitimate, and we went for it. We waited and waited and waited. Nothing happened.
The contractors didn't seem too concerned about the job.
They did not have any writing pads to write this down, and that was my first suspicion. That how you going to remember what you're supposed to do? But and after a while, we found out that why they didn't need any pads, because it was a scam.
Scott Almeida was a state licensed mortgage broker. Florida gave him a license after he got out of federal prison for cocaine trafficking. He used his mother as a character reference on his mortgage broker license application.
They had all the paperwork and all these papers here that we signed for closing, all the papers. Then I don't know how Almeida's name got on them. How my husband's name got on the papers that Almeida had signed. Yes, we had not signed those. A lot of forgery went on.
In the 3 years after getting the state stamp of approval, he ripped off dozens of elderly and disabled homeowners from Tampa to Miami to the tune of $3 million. Yet state regulators did not investigate, even after 2 warnings that he was stealing from clients. His mortgage broker career ended only after the cops threw him in jail.
Oh, I was disgusted. I cried because first time in my life I'd been scammed.
Taylor was not alone.
They claim I owe them $60,000.
83-year-old farmhand W.C. Eccles from Bartow wanted to fix up the home where he's lived for 29 years. Scott Almeida's crew ripped out his windows, slapped up some plywood, and gave him a huge new mortgage.
They would do my house freely. It wouldn't cost me anything for nothing, but just change real estate. They're going to do the inside, outside, windows, and do the whole house. Yeah. They started. They done 3 windows. And that's all. They didn't get through with them because the plywood is still hanging on it, what they covered it with. And I just left it just like it had been that way for 2 years.
The mortgage monsters targeted the old and infirm.
You know, I've been here 42 years, and I decided that I wanted new floors.
Luis Winters signed for a loan. Almeida's henchmen took the money.
And he came in here with 3 checks. One of the check was $2,000 and something. And he said, oh, so you got some money now. So he gave me the check, and of course I'm all excited, you know. And then he had 2 more checks in his hand. I didn't see what the amount was on the checks, and he asked me to sign the check. Well, it didn't dawn on me that he was gonna take these 2 checks that I signed. I endorsed them, but I don't know how much they were.
The State Office of Financial Regulation's mission is to protect consumers from illegal financial activities, according to their website. But they've given licenses to at least a dozen crooks who have bilked people out of millions of dollars. Terry Straub is the new boss in charge of the OFR Division of Finance.
We're a state agency. We serve at the pleasure of the legislature. They fund our organization. I think it's a breakdown in the system that we're licensing people who apparently are either not familiar with their responsibilities or do not take their responsibilities seriously. I think the system needs to be looked at. That's why I'm here, and that's what I'm doing.
The state agency that's supposed to keep the bad guys out of the mortgage business has limited resources and a limited appetite to meddle in free enterprise. This has left law enforcement frustrated. As soon as they lock up one lone crook, another pops up, duly licensed to rip off the public.
We are not the solution. We have brought cases against more than 100 individuals. We have charged more than $130 million in fraud, but we are not the solution. We're going to prosecute it. We're going to be very aggressive, but the real answer is prevention, and that's where a lot of the focus should be.
Will we survive this? God, I hope so. But it's a very perilous time.